Blah, blah. I want to suck your blood.
Hey, playing zombies might be kind of fun. Ram, I don't think that's what zombies sound like.
Surprise, another Neptunia game that started life on the Vita has been ported over to the PC. This time it's the sort of sequel of Hyperdimension Neptunia U Action Unleashed. It's MegaTagmension Blanc and Neptune vs. Zombies. These titles are just getting better and better. Nep U was a hack and slash spin-off sort of thing, and this is the case again with MegaTagmension Blanc and Neptune vs. Zombies. I think I'll have to shorten the name for the video. The game's basic formula hasn't been altered all that much. Pick your favorite characters and beat the hell out of whatever gets in your way.
Here I go! Wow, how cute! Processor unit set! No! Whoosh!
But there have been some changes, thankfully. Nep U was simplistic in a lot of ways, while MegaTagmension has some additions and changes to make gameplay both deeper and not as easy, though not every change is an improvement in my opinion. Also, as with any Neptunia game I review, I'm going to assume that you know at least a little about what this series is about. There's actually a lot to talk about here, like gameplay improvements and omissions, a better story, and the inclusion of multiplayer, for example. So let's just get started here with the story. As you can tell from the title, Blanc is the main character this time round, and Neptune is the not as main character, I guess. The goddesses and CPU candidates are all attending a school called Game Academy in order to learn more about muggles and their way of life. Oh boy, high school setting. I know it's not very original, but strangely for a Neptunia game, it's a nice change of pace. Neptunia games always poke at anime and video game cliches and tropes, so it works out in the end. Due to Japan's, game industry's declining birth rate, the Academy is on the brink of shuttering its shutters. Somehow Blanc convinces everyone that making a zombie movie would be the best idea to get new students in. But then stuff happens and real zombies show up for some reason, so you've got to beat them up. In other words, you take Senran and Kagura, take out some of the blatant fan service to bring it down to a T rating, throw in some Neptunia, a bit of high school slice of life, and zombies. Now you mix it all up, and you get MegaTagmension Blanc and Neptune vs. Zombies. I actually enjoyed the plot. It's about as lighthearted and silly as one might expect, but I always found that to be a good thing with these games. Also, there are more characters than in Nep U. The CPU candidates, Dengekiko and Famitsu are back from the previous game, but we also get Pishi, Plutia, and Uzume from the main games, and a totally new character, Tamsoft. Tamsoft is a representation of the company that made this game, as well as Neptunia U and the Senran Kagura series of games.
I can do this. I have good luck. An item, huh?
Leave it to me!
What I found a bit weird is that the characters that met each other in previous games don't know each other here. I know that there are many dimensions in the Neptunia universe, so maybe MegaTagmension just takes place in a different one. Plus it's a spin-off, so it's not like it's canon anyways.
The world. Yuri Sniper Uni 13 also goes here. Beware, she never misses her targets and always gets what she wants.
Just hearing their names, I can tell how intense these people are.
Before starting a mission, you can select up to 2 characters. You can use keyboard and mouse to play this game, but I prefer a controller in this case, so that's what I'm using here. If you've played the Vita version, then playing with the controller would make the most sense. The controls are exactly the same on both. Fighting feels smooth and fluid. I found the controls to be very responsive. Left and right sticks do what you expect. You'll mostly use normal and strong attacks, which is X and Y. Depending on the character and how you combine these buttons, you can pull off different combos. You can look up combos, but I prefer to just experiment. Jumping and dashing can help you move around and evade enemies. I don't want to call them zombies because they look so ridiculous. You can switch between characters as you please during the fight. I like to switch them around frequently, as characters who are not fighting heal slowly.
I'll finish with full burst. Seems like time is...
As you hit enemies, you'll see this gauge fill up. It's called Exe Drive Gauge and allows you to do Exe and Lily attacks and transform. Exe Drive is L1 and X. Pressing L1 and Y initiates the Lily special attack. Both characters will attack the enemies, and the strength of the attack depends on how much your characters like each other, I think. Special attacks are done by pressing R1 and one of the face buttons, so you get 4 different ones. There's a cooldown period, so you'll have to wait a little until you can do another special attack. You can also use support skills by heal and towing the X and A and X and Y buttons. Characters will like each other more as they fight together, which means they'll be stronger when paired together. This mechanic has been around for most Neptunia games in one form or another. Each fight raises Lily ranks by 1, so it doesn't take long to increase, unlike Neptunia U, where each Lily rank increase took a couple of fights. Compared to Neptunia U, the fighting system in MegaTagmention feels more refined, and it's slightly more difficult, which I think is a nice change. Neptunia U was way too easy. I also like that as you level up, you can distribute ability points to increase character stats to your liking. I like allocating points towards Technic because it gives you new combos. If you keep in mind that the game was originally for the Vita, then the graphics look okay. While the menus look great, the actual 3D part feels like it's been upsampled. I'm running it at 1080p, but it doesn't look native. It's soft and blurry. I like that the environments aren't just recycled from previous games. The characters look decent like always, and everything runs smoothly at 60 FPS. As long as you have the borderless setting enabled anyways. I put mine on full screen at the beginning, and it ran very poorly. I don't really know what the difference is though. Both borderless and full screen look full screen to me, except that the game doesn't run at 60 FPS in full screen mode. My biggest gripe with the Vita version of MegaTagmention was the performance. If you look at the Vita gameplay, it looks slow and cumbersome. This is the main reason I enjoy the PC version much more. Everything flows nicely. In Neptunia U, you were able to adjust how close or far away the camera was from your character. I liked that because I could change it depending on how many enemies were on screen. I don't think that's possible here, since the D-pad buttons have different functions now. It's not just that though. Sometimes I just want to look at the characters. Why have different outfits and accessories if you can't see them in the blur? Speaking of accessories, you can now be very specific about their placement. This is a feature that originally came from the Senran Kagura series. There aren't many accessories or that many different costumes, so it's not as comprehensive as it is in, say, Estival Versus, where you can just go nuts with the outfits. But it's a nice, fun little addition to play around with. There are a few things I've noticed that used to be in Neptunia U, but hasn't been included in MegaTagmention. The most notable exclusion is clothing damage. They don't rip like they did before, though you can dress up your characters in torn duds if you want. Also gone are the victory poses. It's a small detail, but I liked seeing what the different poses were. I was actually hoping for more of that kind of stuff. Neptunia V2 had a lot of cool transformation sequences and attacks, but you won't find anything as cool here. I know that MegaTagmention and the main games are made by different companies, but it's Tamsoft. They made Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus and Estival Versus. Those games have tons of dynamic character poses and attacks, plus MegaTagmention is based on those games. It's not like they couldn't have included that sort of stuff. Despite all that, I still think the game looks good overall. The characters' new outfits are pretty cool, and it's nice to see how they all look in their non-uniform uniforms. The new attire also means new cutscene illustrations. The menus have a nice design, and it has a unique style not found in any other Neptunia game. That's the thing I like about this game. It looks different. It doesn't look like they pulled everything from previous games and threw it together. The sound effects are perfectly fine, and the music is actually pretty awesome. You get a lot of the classic Neptunia songs you've heard in every game prior, but there are some new upbeat slice of lifey tunes for variety, and some sweet metal tracks for when you're fighting.
Let's do our best, Beauty. Yes! Hit it! Hit
I like the English voices in Neptunia games, but if you don't, you can just switch to Japanese voiceovers.
ちょっとフラン、残りの脚本まだなの？コンクールまで時間がないんだから早く。
Blanc vs. Zombies is the first Neptunia game to feature multiplayer. It's a co-op sort of thing where you and a few others play through some missions.
Oh, I'm with Uni.
Basically, it's the same as single player, except you only choose one character and you're not playing alone. I'm not much of a multiplayer player, but it's a neat addition for people who are into that. I do feel that the developers replaced a lot of the post-game content that was present in NepU with multiplayer though. Once you're done the game, which doesn't take long, all you get access to is cheats that make you invincible, basically, and the ability to start missions in HDD mode. I would have liked to see an improved version of Neptune Tower or Tournament mode, but I guess the developers were too busy working on multiplayer. Getting all the achievements looks to be not all that difficult, and the cheats will certainly help with all the lily grinding. I would have also welcomed the inclusion of a bestiary. Trying to get all the different items you need without knowing which monsters they drop from is annoying. Unlike the Vita version, the PC edition of MegaTagmension has no real physical release. So you're out of luck if you're like me and like games you can fondle. There is, however, a digital collector's edition of sorts called the Deluxe Pack. It's not as cool as the limited edition Vita set, but it still has some nice things and isn't very expensive. Included is a 23-page art book featuring character biographies and sketches. The resolution is very low, so it does look pretty crummy. Not fond of that. There's a Windows theme and a few wallpapers if you like that sort of thing, and 8 ringtones for your phone. They're all in English though, which seems to have upset quite a few people if you read the Steam reviews. Something the description on Steam fails to say is that the soundtrack is included. There are 21 songs, and it's the same music that is included in the Vita limited edition soundtrack. Unfortunately, they are all MP3 files, but at least they're encoded at 320. And they're dynamic. The CD version was mastered well, so I'm glad to see that this is the case with the Steam version as well. A bit surprising, especially considering that these days, everything needs to sound loud as shit all the time. So in the end, is it a good game? I think yes. Is it better than the predecessor Neptunia U Action Unleashed? Both yes and no. There are some nice additions and changes, and some unfortunate exclusions. I think it's worth playing as a Neptunia fan. But the biggest problem with this game is that it's not as fleshed out and refined as it could have been. It doesn't feel like a clear improvement over its predecessor. Also, compared to similar games like Senran Kagura Shinobi Vs. and Estival Vs., MegaTagmension Blanc Neptune vs. Zombies just isn't as good.